Today I figured that I would show you how to decode a SCHWINN head badge date code. Why? It's really self-serving. I think people click on videos more if it's like a how-to, if it solves a problem, rather than just me rambling on and on about some dumb old bike. So let's solve your problem. You want to figure out what year your SCHWINN was made. As in, this SCHWINN World Tourist. Can you imagine pedaling this bike around the entire world? I can't. So we're gonna go right here. This is called the head badge. And we're gonna look at it very carefully. See that number on it? The number says something 182. 0182. Alright, 0182, what does that mean? Very simple, it means that this was made on the 018th day, the 18th day. Now, I don't know if that's the 18th calendar day or the 18th production day. Well, let's just say January. And then 2 is the wild card. What does 2 mean? It's the last digit of the year in which this was made. So that's when we have to know a little bit about bikes. 1972? Well, they didn't use these head badges in 1972. I don't think they did anyway. Maybe they did. Let's say for the sake of argument that they did. Makes it more complicated. So this bike is either a 72, or an 82, or a 92. Now, there is a number back here that says G0182, which kind of solves the problem. I don't know what that number is. I think it's just a date code on the dropout. Let's pretend that's not there, because there's another number here that says 91. So, how would I decide that this thing's not a 92? Basically, the aesthetic of the bike. First of all, I don't think they made a World Tourist in 92, but I don't even have to go to some SCHWINN collector website to find that out. You know, I just kind of know it from being around for a while. In 92, they really weren't hawking bikes like this. The whole aesthetic had changed by 92. So I think we can safely rule out 92. Oh, and there's also a bike license on here that expires in 1983. Here, I'm not going to show you the name of the town. Expires 6/83. Oops. But that's another way you can do it, but we're going to pretend that it doesn't have that on there. So it's not a 92 just because of the aesthetic. Well, what about the aesthetic as far as 72 goes? I'm not going to rattle off a bunch of stuff as if I'm an expert, but I don't think they were doing these lugged frames in 72. And in 72, I don't think they were doing these like steel SCHWINN approved 3-piece cranks. I think in 72, a 5-speed SCHWINN probably would have had a 1-piece crank on it with an American bottom bracket instead of a Euro bottom bracket. And of course, they didn't really change a lot of stuff. I mean, they changed it kind of like as an overarching concept, but the general aesthetic of this bike, you know, it's vintage, it looks old. But here's a clue, an SR alloy stem. That's Japanese stuff. In 72, SCHWINN wasn't really equipping their bikes with a ton of Japanese stuff. And this bell that somebody put on, now obviously they could have put that bell on any time, but kind of looks 80s-ish rather than 70s-ish. The rims are Femco steel rims, whereas if this was like a 70s SCHWINN, it probably would have SCHWINN rims on it. And he had like these kind of cheesy axle nuts and these safety washers right here, which a 70s SCHWINN probably wouldn't have. 70s Schwinn wouldn't necessarily have the lugged fork. Some of them had like those straight forks. Now granted, these are points of debate. Like, you'd have to go and do a ton of research to figure out like which elements of the bike were adopted in which year, when did they go to lugged frames, when did they go to 3-piece cranks, yada yada yada. But just as a general overall thing, like this reflector, that doesn't look like a 72 reflector to me. It looks like an 82. The seat, I don't know. So the point is, you look at your head badge, in this case 0182, the last digit is either 72, 82, or 92, and you just kind of look over the bike, check it out, and you make a judgment call. And I'm gonna say, based on the evidence, the overwhelming evidence, this is a 1982 Schwinn World Tourist. And this is an awesome bike. I mean, it's kind of heavy, even though it's a Schwinn extra light cycles. That's what it says. It says extra light. It's not really extra light. I mean, it's kind of a tank, but it's a good, solid, rock solid tank. It's got alloy brake levers, alloy brakes that still work. I mean, the brake pads are petrified by now and the cables should be replaced and everything. It's got these comfy Schwinn grips. The way Schwinn made comfortable grips is they made them like a hollow thing here. See? It's got this alloy stem that's easy to adjust, takes a little weight off the bike. Big sprocket in front. Now these steel cranks are heavy as hell. So that's something you could replace or upgrade and save, you know, an alloy crank set. And these arms probably come right off, so you wouldn't have to replace the bottom bracket. An alloy crank set would probably save you like a couple of pounds. Block pedals, can't go wrong there. And these aren't, I mean, they're a little loose, but they're not that bad. They're not all dried out. And in the back, just a real reliable steel derailleur. The derailleur cables are kind of rusty. Well, there, it's just one cable. It's kind of rusty, but... And it's got like 5-speed thumb shifting, so you don't even have to have a shifter down here like Schwinn's used to come with. That's another clue, a 72 Schwinn. Oh, look at this. That says 72 on it. But a 72 Schwinn would probably have the shifters right here. So that shifter is just gonna be rock solid reliable. It's not gonna get gummed up. Just replace the cable once in a while, keep it lubed. This seat, it's vinyl. It's goofy, it's padded, but whatever. And it's got a rack. And that's a gnarly rack too. I would not want to get caught in that. So the Schwinn, oh, and here's another clue. Wet rims require increased stopping distance. They didn't really do that back in the 70s. So you got your 1982 Schwinn World Tourist, nice condition, nice bike, city cruiser, campus cruiser, you can't go wrong with this thing. And you can pick them up real cheap. I'm not gonna tell you how much I paid for this, but it wasn't very much. So that's the Schwinn World Tourist from 1982.